Hi guys, happy new year! Welcome to 2025 and thank you for coming back to my channel again this year. I really appreciate it. To kickstart the new year, I thought that I would share with you some popular fantasy series that I really want to read this year. As I've shared with you before, my 2024 reading year was brilliant. I read some incredible fantasy books and I'm even more excited for 2025 and to see what that brings as well. In this video, I'm also going to share with you my January TBR. Normally, I like to do a separate TBR video on its own. However, today I thought that I would just combine like two videos in one. So the first half will be the fantasy series I want to read this year, and then the second half will be my January TBR. Make sure that you share with me as well what fantasy series you're excited to read this year and also what is on your January TBR too. I'd be really interested to know. Let's get cracking. So we're kickstarting this list with a legendary series that I'm so excited to read, and it's been on my list to read for a very, very long time. And this has got to be The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. What a influential series. I'm actually shocked I haven't read this so far, considering how much I love fantasy. How can I have not read The Lord of the Rings? This doesn't quite make sense. But I'm gonna rectify that in 2025. If you watched my most recent video of books that I got for Christmas, you'll know that I did receive The Hobbit and the whole collection of Lord of the Rings. This is a classic fantasy series. I'm going to start off with The Hobbit because it is the prequel, and then I'm going to read the rest of the Lord of the Rings, which I do actually have the whole collection in one big book, which I actually have here on my bookshelf already. Look at the way that the light bounces off that book. Is that not stunning? Now this is a chunky book, and I did ask in my previous video whether or not I should read the book all in one go or if I should stop, because it does have breaks where the different books end in this edition. And the most popular opinion was to read the whole thing in one go. So I am gonna do that and I'm so excited. So that is the first book series that I wanna read this year, and it's not actually gonna take me too long to do because I suppose technically I'm reading two books. You know, I'm reading The Hobbit and then I'm reading the whole Lord of the Rings. So that's really not going to take me too long to finish that series, and I can't wait to review it for you on my YouTube channel as well. The second book series that I want to start in 2025 is The Life Ship Traders by Robin Hobb. Now, if you've been on my channel previously, then you'll know that I have started my Robin Hobb journey in 2024. I started off with reading the Farseer trilogy, Assassin's Apprentice. I must admit, I have not finished the Farseer trilogy yet, but I am going to finish that series at the start of 2025, probably within the first quarter of the year. I will have finished the Farseer trilogy, and then I'm going to move on to The Life Ship Traders, starting with Ship of Magic. One thing that I've said before plenty of times about Robin Hobb is that I love the front covers of every single book that she has released. I don't know who she gets to design her cover art, but my gilly goodness, it is beautiful, and the spines just look stunning as well. So I'm really excited to read more from Robin Hobb. I absolutely love her writing style. A lot of people describe Robin Hobb as being quite a slow-paced author, so there's a lot of world building, a lot of introductions to characters and backstories to them, and the pacing of her storylines can feel quite slow because you're learning so much about the characters in the world. And then bam, right in the final part of the book, you are thrown with all the tension and the conflict, and so much happens that you don't know how to process it. Which, I'm not gonna lie, I do actually like. I love world building. I love getting connected to characters, learning more about them, and I feel like Robin Hobb is perfect for that. I mean, I have only read one book by her, and that was Assassin's Apprentice, which is actually the shortest book that she has because look at the size of this. But overall, I'm just so excited to finish my current book series by her and then start another one because she is such an incredible author. I have loved reading her books so far. The next book series that I want to read is The Gentleman Bastards by Scott Lynch, starting with The Lies of Locke Lamora. And then after this one we have Red Seas Under Red Skies and The Republic of Thieves, which I believe I have behind me. which is these two. So these are the second and the third in the series. Now, if you didn't already know, which you probably will do if you are a frequent visitor of my channel, because I've mentioned this so many times that you're probably sick of me saying it, but I am starting a book club this year, and now that we're in January, the book club has officially started. January's book club pick is The Lies of Locke Lamora. So this is the book that I'm going to be reading for the book club this month, and I would invite you to join me on that as well. It's completely free to join. All you have to do is just get a copy of The Lies of Locke Lamora, so whether that's on Kindle Unlimited or you want to go out and purchase your own copy, or if you want to go to a library and see if they have one there, then feel free to read this book. Or equally, if you've already read it, then I would love for you to still join the book club and let me know what you thought to it. So I'm hosting a live stream on the 25th of January, 7 p.m. GMT time, where we're just going to talk about our thoughts on this book. So feel free to join me if you're available for that live stream. No worries if not though, I am going to post it to my YouTube channel afterwards, so you can watch the live stream after it's happened as well. From what I've gathered so far, this book is almost like a take on Robin Hood. So it sounds like we have somebody who is thieving and stealing, and he's in like this group or this squad, and it just sounds really badass. So I'm very excited to read this. And as far as I'm aware, I think this series is unfinished at the moment, but that doesn't bother me. You know, I'm a fan of A Song of Ice and Fire. I can read a book series and not expect it to be finished. I'll make up my own ending in my head. So if you want to join in on the book club, I'd love to see you there. And let me know what you think to The Lies of Locke Lamora, and I'm really excited to start this series this year. I think it's going to be great. I've got a good feeling about it. The next book series that I want to start this year is Cresent City by Sarah J. Maas. I do already have the first one, which again, I mentioned in my previous video, books that I got for Christmas. Here we go. This first one is House of Earth and Blood. I believe that there are 3 out in the series at the moment. The second one is House of Sky and Breath. And then the third one at the moment is House of Flame and Shadow, I believe. Now, I have read the whole series of A Court of Thorn and Roses by Sarah J. Maas, and I'm currently in the middle of Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas, which I'm absolutely loving. Now, I have heard that this is a different writing style for Sarah J. Maas. And to be honest, it's a much bigger book than what she normally tends to write. So I would normally say that Sarah J. Maas is quite good for a beginner of fantasy. So if you haven't read much fantasy in the past, but you really want to get into it, I always recommend a Sarah J. Maas series. So whether you want just fantasy, then I would recommend Throne of Glass. But if you want romantasy elements, I would recommend A Court of Thorn and Roses. Either way, both really great for beginners. Apparently, word on the street is, or the internet, is that this is a much more detailed, elaborate writing style. And a lot of people who are beginners to fantasy have said that they found this book quite slow and a bit too heavy on the world building. Now, because I don't mind those things at all, and if anything, if a book is slow, I normally don't mind. I'm normally not put off by it, because I just love immersing myself in the world, learning more about the history of the world. I don't mind all of that stuff. So I'm actually really excited to read this and see how it's different to Sarah J. Maas's previous writing styles. I haven't read the blurb for this book just in case it spoils anything from Throne of Glass, because I do believe that all of her novels are set in the same world and the same universe. So I'm not sure whether or not this will ruin anything. I don't think it will, because the characters are completely different, but it's just in case anything happens to the world at the end of Throne of Glass that this then spoils or follows on from. I'm just concerned, so I haven't read the blurb, but I'm really excited to read this. Also, the front cover kind of reminds me a little bit of Hunger Games. I think it's like this this sigil, or this, you know, like the mockingjay. Obviously this isn't a mockingjay, is it a pigeon? What is this? But it's just giving me similar vibes to that. But yeah, another fantasy series I'm really, really excited to start this year. The next popular fantasy series that I'm excited to read in 2025 is The Emperion by Rebecca Yarros. I believe I have the books behind me, do I? Oh yes, I do. So I have Fourth Wing here and Iron Flame here. So you start off with Fourth Wing, and then the third book, Onyx Storm, is coming out at the end of this month, and I have pre-ordered it already. Even though I haven't started this series yet, I just have a feeling I'm gonna love it. As far as I'm aware from what I've heard so far, this book is about like a military training university academy style thing for dragon riders, and that is the purpose of the main character's plot. Anything to do with dragons, I immediately want it, even though I don't have any clue what happens in this book. I know that there are dragons in it, and I do have a thing about dragons. I am obsessed, to be honest. I think it's time that I started getting some help professionally for this, because there's something not right about the way that I feel about dragons. So I'm really excited to read this. I think this is a romantasy as well, or it has romantasy elements in it, because I think two people get it on. But then again, a lot of people get it on in A Song of Ice and Fire, and that is definitely not a romantasy. So I will report back and let you know, but I think one of my favourite things so far about this book is the gorgeous little dragon shadow in gold foiling on the side of the spine. I was just in here the other day just looking at this for a good 5 minutes straight, and you know, there are things that I could have been doing with my time, but I didn't. I just stared at the spine of this book. Call me crazy, I am aware of it. So I'm really excited to read this, and I'll report back and let you know what I think. Next up, we have a book series that again I have heard so much about. I actually don't have the first book in this series yet. I don't know why that is, I just haven't accumulated it yet. This is The First Law by Joe Abercrombie. So I believe you start with The Blade itself, then you move on to Before They Are Hanged, and then you move on to Last Argument of Kings. Please correct me if I'm wrong in that order, but I think that that is the order of the book series so far. This book series honestly sounds really intriguing. I've heard that there's lots of different elements, like magical elements and fantasy elements in there. So you have like barbarians, you have wizards, there's wars and fights and conflict, all that juicy stuff that we love in a fantasy series. And it honestly just sounds really great. Again, I don't know what to expect with this book series. I'm gonna kind of go into it pretty blind and just read it without doing any prior research. I'm so excited for this. I think it'll be great. I've heard a lot about it, and I've actually watched some non-spoilery reviews on it as well, which is quite nice because it helps me get hyped up for a book series, and I'm really hyped about this one. The next book series that I want to get involved in, now I think that this is a fantasy. When I did research on it, it looked like it came under the fantasy genre. This is The Dark Tower by Stephen King. So apparently this does comprise like a mixture of genres as well. So you've got fantasy in there, you've got some sci-fi elements, you've got some horror elements as well. And I think that that's what really drew me into it, is that it seems like a good mixture of lots of different genres, but I am going to class it as like a subgenre of fantasy today for the purpose of this video. I believe that there are 7 books, there's a novella, and there's also a prequel as well. And with this one, you can start with the prequel too. So that is what I do tend to like doing. I like to read things in chronological order as they happened. So if there's a prequel that kind of starts off the series pretty well, then I am going to start with that one. So that's what I'm going to do with this series. And I think one of the things I'm the most excited for about this series is that it is so long. Like, it's a huge series, there's so many books in it, and I like Stephen King's writing style. I must admit, I've only read pure horror by him. I've not read any of his works in other genres, but I'm excited to see what it's like, and I'm just really intrigued by this one too. So if you have read this series by Stephen King, I'd love to know your thoughts on it. And if you want, I may do some reviews on some of the books in this series as well on my channel throughout the year as I read it. I'm not expecting to finish this series this year just because it is so long, but I definitely want to start it. That is the goal. The next fantasy series that I want to read is City of Nightmares by Rebecca Schaeffer? Actually, now on second thoughts, I think it's Schaeffer. This series I should finish in 2025 because it is a duology, so there's only 2 books in the series. I've heard great things. So you start off with City of Nightmares and then you finish with Cage of Dreams. Apparently this is a YA fantasy as well, which I'm not opposed to. Sometimes I do tend to stay away from YA, but this one does seem to be really good actually. I've read reviews on it that just really draw me in and make me want to read the books. And I thought, because it's a duology, I'm not investing too much time into it if I don't like it. Because I'm the type of person where if I start a series, I have to finish it. I can't just leave it unfinished. I'm not George R.R. Martin. I can't leave a project unfinished when I start it. So I am going to start and finish this series. I'm really excited to. I think it's got lots of different like magical elements in there too. We've got some thriller, we've got some evil creatures, there's organizations, cults, all sorts of tense things going on, and I'm really excited to see how fast-paced the plot is as well, actually. I think this is going to be one of those books that just throws a load of really intense plots at you over and over and over again, so I'm really hyped for it, excited to read that one. And then the final book series I have so far on my list that I'd like to start in 2025 is Crowns of Nyaxia by Carissa Broadbent. I haven't heard too much about this book series, but I have heard a lot about this author. Lots of people online are raving about her writing style and the way that she creates a world and plots and storylines and ties everything together. It sounds really intricate. So with this one, I believe you would start off with The Serpent and the Wings of Night, I believe is the first one in that series. This one is quite a dark fantasy. I believe there's vampires included in this one. There's thriller elements. There's a little bit of romance sprinkled in there, I believe. And this is about the adopted human daughter of a vampire king. How cool does that sound? I'm actually getting chills just thinking about that sentence that I just said there. And as far as I'm aware as well, this book series is a 6-book series, but it's separated into duologies. So although you've got 6 overall, you technically have 3 duologies in there. So I think the first 2 are about the first set of characters. The next 2 would carry on the storyline, but looking at it from some different character perspectives, and then so on with the final 2. I love the way that sounds like it has been built up. I think that that's a really cool structure for a book series. It's one that I've not come across in a long time, and I'm excited to kind of read these duologies, but then it still be part of this big, grander scale book series. And I think that there are future books to come in the series as well. I don't think that this is entirely finished. So again, really excited to get stuck into this series. I'm not expecting to finish it in 2025, but who knows, if I like it that much, I might just binge read it all. So those are the main book series that I want to start in 2025, but knowing me, I will probably add loads more to this list. And if you have any book series that you think I should read or that you would recommend for this year, then please feel free to leave those in the comments and I will add those to my list for sure. So to finish off today's video, let's talk about the books that are on my January TBR. So I normally try to set myself about 4 books, 4 or 5, but I've gone for 4 this month because some of these books are very big and I don't want to be overly ambitious and then not finish any of these books and get overwhelmed and have panic and not read it all because I'm so anxious about it. My main goal this year is to just be a lot more relaxed with reading and to not set overly ambitious goals if I genuinely don't think I can complete them. And I've got a lot of stuff on at the moment, so I'm hoping that this is a realistic TBR for January, but we shall soon find out. So, starting off my January TBR, we have The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is going to start off one of the series that I mentioned right at the start of this video, The Lord of the Rings. This book is very small, it's not a very big book at all. This is the prequel to The Lord of the Rings. Apparently this is a slightly different writing style. I am unbelievably excited to start reading this book. In fact, I kind of just want to stop recording this video right now so that I can read it. But I won't. I will finish it for you guys. I will finish this video and then I'm going to read. I've also got a beautiful edition. I love the way that this book looks so much. Like, look at the mountains, the gold foiling, even like the way that his name is written like a signature on the front cover. I think that is stunning. So this is the first one in my January TBR and I will definitely post a review on my channel for this once I've read it. Next up on my January TBR, ooh, I gave you a sneak peek there. We are going to be continuing a book series that I started in 2024, and this is going to be Eldest by Christopher Paolini, which is the 2nd book in the Inheritance cycle. I read Eragon last year and I posted a review of that on my channel, and if you watched that you'll know that I was so close to rating Eragon a 5 stars out of 5. I don't rate things that highly very often, but it was such a good book. I think I rated it like 4, maybe 4.5 stars in the end. It was incredible. I loved reading Eragon so much. Again, it has dragons in it, and it's just such a good, light-hearted, fluffy fantasy novel, and again I would recommend Eragon for beginners of fantasy as well. It was really easy to follow. I am so excited to continue that storyline with Eldest, so I am going to be reading this in January. Again, I will post a review for it on my channel because I've started reviewing the Inheritance Cycle series now, and I'm going to continue doing that. I love this book cover more than the Eragon one. I just think that the dragon on the front of this looks so badass. And yeah, really excited to read this one. And once I've read it, I can pop it back in my bookshelf again because I think the Inheritance Cycle is currently missing him. There's a space right there for him, but he can't go in yet because I've not read him. Next up on my January TBR, this is a very obvious one. It's got to be on my January TBR. This is The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. Again, I'm going to be starting the Gentleman Bastards series, and this is the January book club pick, so we do have to read this in January. I am unbelievably excited to read this and also to share my thoughts and opinions on it with you, and for you to share your thoughts and opinions on it with me. I'd love for us to have a conversation and just see what we thought of the book. Did it live up to our expectations? It's just going to be a whole lot of fun, and I'm really excited to start this series. I've heard some incredible things, and this is obviously on my January TBR. And then the final book on my January TBR, again, I mentioned this series a little bit earlier because I am currently in the middle of it and I would like to finish it in 2025. This one is Heir of Fire by Sarah J. Maas. This is the next one that I need to read in the Throne of Glass series. This will be the 4th book that I've read, but it's the 3rd one technically in the series because I read the prequel first. I rated the previous book in this series, Crown of Midnight, a 5 stars. It was incredible. It had been a long time since I had read a book that hit me that hard, and Crown of Midnight did that perfectly. So obviously I have very high expectations for this one too. I want it to continue the amazing emotions that I feel in this series because Crown of Midnight had so many plot twists that actually made me gasp. There were so many emotions that I didn't know what to do with myself after reading the book, and I've had to physically restrain myself from picking this up and eating it. Oh my god. And I've had to physically restrain myself from picking this up and reading it earlier. I didn't want to read it in December because I didn't want to rush the series. I like to take breaks in a series because then I feel like I'm experiencing it for longer, and I was still reeling off from all the emotions that happened at the end of Crown of Midnight. So I really feel like now I'm at a stage where I can read this book and thoroughly enjoy it and pace myself slowly with it. I can't wait. I also love the cover art for the whole Throne of Glass series. I think it just looks so dark and mysterious and again just really cool. I've just noticed something on this book cover that I didn't realise before. This is the first time that I've noticed it. Guys, what does that look like? Ignore the chipped nails, by the way. What does that look like? Does that look like a dragon? We've not had dragons yet in Throne of Glass. Am I about to be presented with a dragon in this incredible book series? Guys, I'm not going to cope. I'm not going to cope with it. If that happens, I'm not going to cope. Okay, well, when I get round to reviewing the Throne of Glass series, this could be an interesting one. These are my January TBR books. Smooth. I should have put them at the other side so that you could see properly. Oh, I wasn't built for this. Here we go. Hey, never underestimate yourself, kids. I've done it. Some incredible books here. Are they all fantasy? Oh my god, they're all fantasy. It's going to be such a fantastic-y fantasy month in January. Does that kind of rhyme? Fantasy January? No, it doesn't, does it? I thought I'd just made a poem then. I thought I was a poet and I didn't even know it. So that is my January TBR and books that I'm really excited to read in 2025 that are part of a series. I will stop waffling now, but I would love to hear what is on your January TBR and what books are you most excited to read in 2025. It doesn't have to be part of a series, it could be a standalone as well. I do actually have some standalones that I do want to read this year as well. So make sure to leave me a comment so that we can keep this conversation going. And if you did enjoy this video, then please give it a thumbs up to let me know. If you like my content and you want to see more from me, then please subscribe because it's free and it means that you can see my videos easier. I'm super excited for our book club live stream at the end of this month, so I will keep you posted on reminders for it and also when you can pick the February book club book as well. I hope you've had a good start to the new year already. I know that we are only on the 1st. of January. So I hope it's been a good first day of the year for you so far. I will see you next time, or rather you'll see me, and I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye for now.